idea to get ahead, you know. You know that about yourself, that you forget homework sometimes. So. More like you remember homework sometimes. All right. All right, we're looking at lesson 43 today. Sine, cosine, tangent, and then inverse function. Have y'all heard of sine, cosine, tangent before? Have you seen it on your calculator before? Let me see one of y'all's blue calculators. Well, okay, if you look over here, I don't know where they are on yours. Is it angle? Okay, so if you have this calculator, you got to hit second and then the pi button over here. Oh, just all two. Oh, okay. Well, that's easy enough. Here you go, Jason. Do you know where yours are, Jamar? Okay. If you have one of these blue calculators, SIN, it's short for sine. It's the first three letters, SIN. COS is short for cosine. The first three letters. TAN, short for tangent. First three letters. Okay? Yeah. To the negative one. Yeah. We'll get there. Okay? But does everyone know how to get to the sine, cosine, and tangent buttons on your calculator? Yeah. Yes. Yeah, we're going to learn how to use the calculator with it. But first, you got to know where the buttons are. Okay. The three trig ratios, sine, cosine, and tangent, make up ratios using a right triangle. Sine over cosine equals tangent. All right, the sine of an angle, sine of angle A, is opposite over hypotenuse. We'll get to what that means in a minute. We'll get there. Just write it down first. Yes, I know. Write it down first. We'll go over it in a second. Opposite over hypotenuse. Cosine of the angle is adjacent over hypotenuse. No, that's the angle A. Angle A. Sine of angle A, cosine of angle A. And then the tangent of angle A is opposite over adjacent. You need to learn those three proportions. You can write it like that if you want. You need to learn them. Sine is opposite over hypotenuse. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. And tangent is opposite over adjacent. You will have to know them on your test? Yes, it has something to do with triangles. Okay, that's my angle. Where is the hypotenuse? Right? Which leg is adjacent to my angle? Which one of these? What does adjacent mean? Adjacent next to. Adjoining. No. Which one is adjacent to this angle? The bottom. Adjacent. Hold on, we'll get there. What leg is opposite of the angle? This one, this angle. This other leg. Okay? That's where you get the adjacent, opposite, hypotenuse. If I put my angle up here, if I made my angle right there, would this still be the opposite leg? This leg would be the adjacent leg, and this one would become the opposite. Okay? Does that make sense? Depending on where your angle is, changes where your adjacent hypotenuse will be. Okay, so looking at this angle, let's make up some numbers. 3, 4, and 5. What would be the sine of this angle? Sine is opposite over hypotenuse. The sine of the angle would be 4 over 5. We'll get there. Does that make sense? The opposite is this one, which is 4, and the hypotenuse is 5. 4 divided by 5. Leave it as a fraction. Don't make it a decimal, okay? What would be the cosine? 3 is adjacent over the hypotenuse. Does that make sense? Okay, the tangent of A would be 4 over 3. For this particular triangle. They're not always 3 over 5, 4 over 5, and 4 over 3. Okay? All right, so let's look at an example. Oh. No. We're getting the basics. We're getting the basics down. Okay. All right. We want to find the sine of angle A. What would be the sine of angle A? No, what would be the sine of it? How do you find sine? Opposite? What is opposite? Over what? The hypotenuse. Y'all see how that works? I mean, that is how simple some of the problems are. Like, that's all they'll ask. They will get harder, won't they, Bailey? Pre-cal is a lot of trig. A lot of sine, cosine, and tangent. All right. Any questions on this one? Okay. Looking at this one, what would be the cosine of angle B? You'll see how that works? Adjacent over hypotenuse. Any questions on that one? Okay. What would be the tangent of angle C? What is tangent? Opposite? Opposite? You could. Yeah, that'd be fine to reduce it. Yeah. Y'all see? No, leave it. Leave them like that. Does that make sense? Yeah, I know that's not technically how it's supposed to be. Leave it like that. You'll see how these work? Okay. Theta? Maybe. It's a Greek letter. It's just like a variable. Yeah, really. It's just a variable. It's a Greek letter. Just like this. Just like that is. It's just a Greek letter. Just like pi is a Greek letter. Right. It's not a number. Yeah. Yeah, you can make it A, B, C, whatever. You've never seen it before. My Calc 2 teacher in college, he was Asian and he would say, theta, theta, theta. I had no idea what he was talking about. So anyway. Okay. If who has a graphing calculator? Okay. On your graphing calculator, you need to turn it on first. Go to mode. It's next to the second button. Scott, you don't have a graphing calculator. Okay. I was making sure that you weren't looking for it. Okay. If you look at like the third line, do you see where it says radians and degrees? Okay, it needs to be dark on degrees. Okay, then just quit. Just make sure that it. I should make sure it is in degrees. It should have been, but you want to make sure it's in degrees. Radians we'll get to in pre-calc. You don't need radians until then. Not until pre-calc. You'll be in degrees until then. Okay. It should. All right. On most calculators, the way that you're going to use the calculator, you're going to put in sine, cosine, tangent, whatever, and then the angle. Okay? That's how it should work on most calculators. Yes. Let me see your calculator. Yeah. All right, so we're going to try and find sine of 30 degrees. So see if you can figure out what the sine of 30 degrees would be. Yeah, yours is automatic. It doesn't have radians. Use the calculator. You'll need a triangle. Just plug it into your calculator. Yeah. Enter the trig. You are just finding sine of 30 degrees. That's it. Decimal when you use the calculator. Oh, well, that's fine. It's fine. Everyone see how to get 0.5 for sine of 30? Oh yeah, yours is different. I said on most calculators. For that one, oh, I don't like those. Do you have another calculator? Okay. I don't like having to teach with those. They're not as easy to. The one that Marina has on her desk. They're really hard to use on some stuff. No, don't throw it away. I mean, it's still useful. Just, I mean, it is. It's just harder to use. We'll get there. Okay. See if you can find the tangent of 45. We'll get there. We've got to first understand how to even use it at all. Any questions on these two? Any questions on those two? You can do I mean, you can do anything. You might not be in degrees. Oh, 60? 90, 180, 270, 360, all of it with like. Any questions so far? Okay. All right, y'all paying attention? Sean, attention? For inverse functions, you're trying to find the angle that has the sine, cosine, or tangent of a specific value. The inverse ones are these buttons. Yes. Do you know how to find those? It's called, the way that you read this, sine inverse, cosine inverse, and tangent inverse, not sine to the negative 1. Sine inverse. Okay? Does that make sense? Those are the inverse functions. We'll get there. We'll get there. It's not as easy to type the experiment. I don't like smart. I don't like the smart like board math part of it. It doesn't work very well. No, the program that like we use to make them, it's just not as good. Like Word, you know how you can make an equation in it? Yeah, I can't. You can't do that in Smartboard. Okay, so the way that you're going to do these on the calculator, right now we have sine of A gives us 1/2. Well, we need to find out what A equals, right? So the way that you put A by itself, you don't divide by sine. You do this. Sine inverse of 1/2. Does that make sense what I did? To get the sine to the other side, you have to use the inverse. Hold on. Of 1/2 is what A equals. To move the sign over here, you have to do the inverse. Right there. Okay? So the way that you put it into the calculator, well, first you have to type in sine inverse. So see if you can find sine inverse on your calculator. And then what do you put in? 1/2. What does our A actually equal? You did sine of 1/2. Nope, sine inverse of 1. Right above the sine button, you got to hit second sine. You see how it came up sine to the negative 1? Sine inverse. Any questions on the first one? It is, I mean, it's an angle. It has degrees. Any questions on the first one? Okay, for B, what am I going to write? Cosine inverse, not plus. That's okay. That's okay. You can have part of an angle. Which rounds to what? Which 49.999, it rounds to 50 degrees. Any questions on this one? Yeah, if it's like 999, go ahead and round it up to 50. Any questions on those? right, how would you find C? Tangent inverse. Tangent inverse of, not Thomas. Of. Yeah. So two different things. Y'all get 78 for tangent of, or what C equals? Any questions so far? Y'all see how that works? Okay. Find the angle whose sine is 0.643 and find the angle whose cosine is 0.216. It is. Why would we use inverse on this first one? Sine of angle is the number. You gotta, when you're finding an angle, you're gonna use the inverse. If you were trying to find the like opposite over hypotenuse, you wouldn't use the inverse. You'd use sine. They'd say sine of 4/5 is what? Or sine of 30 degrees is what? Like they give you a number. Sine of a number is what? What would the answer for A be? No, that's what I got. Do you agree? 77.5? If you rounded it to 78, that's fine. But I just want to make sure y'all got the same thing. Any questions on using the calculator for these? Okay, so right now, that's all it's going to ask you to do. As we go more in depth into trig, we'll go over it. Yes. Both. Both. They'll do both of them. Okay? When do you use sine, cosine, or tangent? No. How do you know when you use sine, cosine, or tangent? When it gives you the angle, you're going to use sine, cosine, and tangent to find the ratio of the sides. When do you use sine inverse, cosine inverse, and tangent inverse? When you're looking for what? The angle. Okay? If you're looking for an angle, sine inverse or cosine inverse or whatever. You just use sine, cosine. Okay? Yes. There is, they had a table back before they had calculators that had all of it, and you had to like multiply it out by yourself. And let's just say, I'm very grateful we have calculators now. No, not without a calculator. Any questions on these? Okay, real quick. Sine is what? Without looking at your notes. Sine is what? Okay, what is cosine? And what is tangent? Okay, there is a saying that some people use. SOHCAHTOA. SOHCAHTOA. Some people use that. Some people use some old hippie caught another hippie tripping on acid. I don't care what you use. There's one that is related to Washita in some way. I don't know what it is. But anyway, Um, you can make up whatever you want. Bottom line, you have to learn those three. Okay? I don't care what you do to learn them, but you got to learn them.